Welcome, everybody, to the second edition of Haversack Resources. And today I have the distinct pleasure to introduce the world to Cassidy from Cassidy by Design. We came by Cassidy by way of an employee. We had a project that she did for us, our Haversack. She was the one that helped design it and put it into place. And her vision, her talent was incredible. It was truly, truly inspirational for everybody in the team. And it really brought to life who we are as a company. And through that, I've always advocated that when you meet somebody and they've got great talent, you should tell the world about it. And this is what we're trying to do with Haversack Resources, this podcast, is to find great people out there, business owners, that have an amazing product to sell, amazing story. And like I said, that is our goal. And I think we've got a great opportunity today to introduce Cassie to the world. So with that, Cassie, I'll defer to you, let you introduce yourself. I would say you can go right into your whole life story. Cassie, and this is where I am to this point in my life. And then you can go right up to the point of your business, and then we'll get into your business at that.
Okay.
You're up.
Okay. Well, thank you, Chris, for that great introduction. As you said, my brand is Cassidy by Design, and my name is Cassidy Burel. So I guess we could just go ahead and dive in on the fact that I'm an apparel designer. I work with mostly custom gowns, bridal wear. The evening gown is generally the market that I'm mostly catering to. And I'll kind of explain like why I was on here anyways with Haversack and what we worked on together. So I grew up in a small town and then moved to Greensboro to start my educational career right at school. I went to UNCG and studied in the apparel design program. I think it's called Consumer Apparel and Retail Studies Program. So they refer to it as CARS, which is very confusing when you're searching for fashion design in North Carolina, CARS. So I made it there in 2016. And although apparel design is what I've always wanted to do, I actually didn't know how to sew until 2016 when I moved. Just always played sports growing up, just did different things. So 2016, learned how to sew. And I felt really behind. I felt like everyone had already done the home ec all through high school. So it was really my goal to like stick to it hardcore, hit the ground running. And I practiced at least every day for the next, what year are we now? 2021?
2021, so yes.
5 years later.
Year of COVID, 2021.
Year of COVID. Well, extended COVID.
Yes.
So I was able to study there, but then I found that a lot of what has helped me grow as a designer in general has happened honestly after graduation. I feel like they give you the fundamentals to, hey, here's how to do a business. And if you wanted to open up your own line, here's what you could do. But as far as the actual handcraft that goes into freelance design kind of came after graduation. So I guess it's a year now that I've been graduated in May 2020. So at the peak of COVID, when everything was shutting down, which was really depressing. It was my intention to move to New York, or I was also looking at Boston. I was either going to work for this small bridal boutique in New York City. And then my other offer was to be in Boston, actually. For a sportswear company called Saucony. They actually make clothes and shoes as well. Mm-hmm. But it was May of 2020. So actually my offers got rescinded. Is that we're kind of closing most of our doors. So sorry, you were going to come, but that's okay. Maybe next time. So that definitely threw a wrench in my plans as a designer, because I felt like I'd been working really hard all through school to be the best it could be, so that all the projects, everything was leading up to graduation, to get the good job, to dive into the career of design, like working for someone else until I was able to do it myself was the goal. Didn't end up being quite like that. So while everything was shut down during COVID, I started a part-time job, it's just another one at Target, in order fulfillment, because they were one of the only businesses actually that were still open. Like grocery stores were still allowed to be open, so they were considered a grocery store. So I did that for a while, like a couple months, until the end of the year. And smaller businesses and boutiques started opening again with all the COVID reservations and wearing the masks and the social distancing and how many people come to your store. And I started work as a bridal alterationist, like a seamstress, at a small boutique in downtown Greensboro called Simply Stunning by Divas, which was a really, really awesome opportunity because I was able to shadow one of the seamstresses that's also still there, that's been doing, seam like tailoring and sewing and freelance design for like 25 plus years. So school was an amazing tool, but being able to shadow her and the pressure it took for perfection in the bridal industry really, really ramped up what I was wanting to do, which is now evening wear and bridal. Towards the end of the year, I was taking on more freelance work, enough to where I could quit the part-time job at Target, which was a great opportunity. They were awesome. But I was really ready to just dive into what I'd always wanted to do, which was fashion design. So I still work part-time kind of at Simply Stunning, doing alterations, which I think is good for the brain. It's all puzzles. Taking something like apart and then changing it really drastically and then making it look like you didn't do anything is really hard. So I definitely still like working there. But more commissions came in, enough to where I could just quit the part-time job, which was really exciting. In fact, the biggest project that really was the turning point to make that happen was the project with you guys, Chris, when my friend that works for you guys reached out and was like, hey, I know you make clothes, but can you make bags? I said, well, I am a seamstress, so I could make you some bags. And that was a really interesting process that we can talk about together. But
yeah, absolutely.
Through trial and error and a brand new industrial sewing machine, which I'm super excited for. I didn't realize how much I needed until I couldn't sew the backpacks without one.
Yes.
Led to all the bags that we got to work on together today, and more exciting things to come. So we just finished up all the quantities that we were working on with you guys, and here we are. So it's a good life, no?
That's great. No, I think there's a lot of takeaways in your story. The first one is, as a business owner, the one thing you don't ever want to do, and COVID has taught us, is if we don't remember this, and this has got to be in your DNA forever as a business owner, revenue streams. You have to diversify. You have to look at multiple directions. Look at the companies you're going to go work for, and they had to shut their doors. And the simple question is, and the simple answer is, they didn't have any way to survive.
Yeah.
And the only way they did was to shut down. And that is a bad place. And fortunately, in Haversack, we never had to do, we hired, we moved forward, we pushed forward in there, and we had a diversification of revenue stream. And you can't say no. I always tell everybody is, can't never accomplish the thing. It doesn't accomplish anything. You had never done a bag, but you didn't say no. You weren't afraid of it. You ran towards it instead of away from it.
Be the yes man. Make
it happen. Make it happen. You have to. You gotta fire off and go into that. And I know I drive everybody nuts here in Haversack because I never say no to anything. I'm always yes, and I always come up with the next crazy idea. But that's what you have to do. That's what you got to do to keep going, because you don't know when the next pandemic is coming. You don't know when the next something is around the corner. Mm-hmm. And what I found, and this is what I always tell people, is you got people relying on you. Mm-hmm. You have a payroll, you have families, you have so much. You owe it to them to push hard. And so, kudos to you for accepting the challenge of the Haversack. And like I said, it's been great. I want to kind of go back to something. This is one of the things that I always find interesting is your education. I find now that I've got creative people around me. Christy, who handles our marketing, we talk about her interaction in college. how she was educated. What is the relationship of what you're taught in college and then when you hit the world, when reality hits?
Like the
How big of
transition, what that looked like.
yeah, what does it look like? What's that transition to make people aware of, especially in industry? They're going to tell you X, but here is
Here's
why.
how it went.
Yeah, here's reality.
Well, I would say a lot of that really depends on, so in my profession, like the CARS program, that Consumer Apparel and Retail Studies, there's actually a million different jobs that you can do with that kind of degree. You could be an apparel buyer, you could be a designer, you could be a pattern maker, you could work in the production, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a million jobs. So that's not to say that the job market's terrible and no one is hiring. But with what I wanted to do, which was end goal was like luxury apparel design, wanted to do it for myself, open my own business, and then run with it. It looked quite a bit differently than I expected going out of college. It made the most sense to me to graduate. And then while you're working on all your finished projects, to seek out the companies that you want to work for and like invite them to view like your finished work so that, you know, they're impressed, they like you, they want to hire you. So that's how it was supposed to go. And how it often goes for a lot of graduates in this field of study. So I would say COVID threw off what was supposed to happen. Generally, most students in my field will, you know, maybe work for one of the companies or brands in the area if they want to stay here. Like in Greensboro, we're lucky enough to have Wrangler and Lee right down the road, like huge company that offers lots of design opportunities, offers merchandising, marketing, advertisement, production, actual like facilities to make the garments in-house. So I did intern there and that was a good experience. But if the goal was to leave, then it's a little bit more difficult. Like, how do you do an interview when everyone is closing down? So for me, my experience was actually it was really tough trying to come to grips with the fact that what I had planned for like the past 8 years was not going to happen. And then as a designer, trying to figure out the skills that I had to make them marketable and still make it like income while everything was shut down. So for me, what that looked like was biting the bullet and taking a job that I could to make ends meet until you look to the next thing that you can do, which looked like just putting in the time, working on my own skills and personal development outside of a part-time job, always trying to get better and learning new things so that by the time there was opportunity for something else, that you can just grab it, just go for it. And so that meant also saying yes to bridal alterations, even though I've never taken apart a wedding dress before, but yeah. Like with the field of study, feel like, yeah, I can make this happen. It's going to be perfect. Let's do it.
Wow, that was brave. You mess up a wedding gown. Yeah, you might be on America's Most Wanted or something. Some bride hunting you down for that. So
I know, and it's like it's not even just as simple as I'll buy you a new one.
No, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. It's terrible. So my experience, I think, was a little swayed based on COVID, but I think a lot of college graduates, maybe in like, yes, my field of study, but then also outside of that, struggle with the fact that maybe what they planned is not actually what ends up happening, or even remotely close. Maybe it doesn't happen in like immediatamente. Yeah. Mine, May, June, July, August, September, October. The October and August area was when I started working as a bridal alterationist, which is also not something I planned on doing. But that actually opened the door and gave me the confidence to, yeah, I can accept commissions. I can make your wedding dress for sure. For sure. And I do that now. And it's so much fun. So I found that the gradual increase from absolutely nothing happening went like this. As soon as you get to a place where you're comfortable and you can just say yes, and then you make it happen, was a different transition from what I thought was going to be after graduation.
Talk about that moment. I remember the moment I said, I'm gonna start my own business.
Yeah.
And, you know, the intrepidation, the fear, the excitement, all of that. And then the kind of the roller coaster of it. Because I remember times when I started it and I'm sitting there and I literally had nothing to do.
Yeah.
And like, nothing was coming in, nothing was happening. And I was like, I should be busy
Like I should be so swamped right now. What am I doing? Is this
And I'm
okay?
not. And
Yeah.
it's like, should I go to monster.com or Indeed and get a job? Talk about that kind of transition of
Yeah.
made a decision, went through, and then the ups and downs of that.
Sure. So I would say in August, September, and October of last year was the point at which I was, because I've taken commissions like all through college. It's good practice. It's mostly like friends and family who they like me, they like my work, and they want to give me the opportunity to do what it would look like if I had my own business. So it was always really here and there, maybe 1 to 7 projects a year, very small. Like price point was considerably smaller. The actual product was, can I have a mask? Or can I have a little clutch out of some recycled materials? So it's small things. But in August, September, and October of last year, I was still working the part-time job at Target, order fulfillment. So that's like 25 to 40, whatever hours a week. And then was doing that early in the mornings, and then going to the bridal alterations appointments that I would have throughout the afternoon, then going home, sewing the dresses, then going to sleep. And then the second at which actually we started our project, I was looking at what it was going to take for me to accomplish the task. And I was like, there's no way that I can do all of these things. I remember actually like having a little bit of a breakdown, as all of us creative people do. We just have a little bit of a meltdown. You just need a second to freak out just for a minute. And my boyfriend looked at me and he's like, you got to quit at least one thing. Pick one, just one. So I stopped working at Target. So now I'm just doing basically sewing things full time. And I was realizing that it was definitely enough to pay for all the things that I needed, and then a little bit more. And I was like, I'll bet if I marketed just a little bit, then there would be more things like this. So I still had this safety net of doing the alterations. Like that's relatively steady. It's here and there because no one's getting married in January. So there's definitely not going to be any bridal appointments in December.
Yeah.
So all this time I'm trying to figure out, okay, how can I generate enough revenue to still make this a thing? So thinking in the back of my mind, here's the safety net of alterations. And I did quit the job at Target, but they made me an on-demand team member. So if I wanted to pick up hours, if everything that I had planned on doing, all the sewing, all the design work flopped, then I did have a safety net. And I think it's always okay to be able to come to grips with the fact that sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do until you can do something else.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how it goes. Like, did I want to push a cart at Target and put in things in it for online orders? No. But did it pay the bills so that I could get the sewing machine that I've always wanted and get to be doing the sewing full time? Yes, it did. And so by the end of the year, I had booked more commissions because at this point, no part-time job, I could just say yes to the commissions instead of saying, maybe I can, maybe the deadline will be way past when you want it. All of a sudden, it was my full-time occupation. So I could say, yes, I can make your maternity dress. 2 weeks later, here it is, right? And then more people are like, oh, that's great. So as you can attest to for a small business, all of a sudden, word of mouth, people are hearing things. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. And then it's escalated to here now. Just like the ball keeps rolling. So I think the end of last year was really that point in which I was like, this is the move for sure.
Did it happen sooner than you thought?
Oh my gosh, yes. I did not imagine in the summer of last year that I would have officially filed for like the business title and the name and started paying taxes and gathering all the information for a small business. Then my goal was to work for somebody until I felt comfortable to have my own business. And then in like the end of last year, when it just started happening, this can be a reality, even if it's smaller scale right now. Like this can work. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I often think back of myself is like, when would be the perfect time to start a business? And the only time I ever think it would be is if you're buying a franchise.
Yeah.
If you're buying a McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or something like that, then that kind of follows its own path. You want to do that, and there's a time.
Mm-hmm.
You just do it. It's, there's no perfect time. It doesn't align. You just know, okay, this is it, and this is the direction I want to go. From there, since you've been starting your business and you're on there, I always talk about it kind of comes, you know, it gets intoxicating and you want more. And you're like, you see an opportunity every time you turn around. There's an opportunity here, there's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
Talk about, tell me if, because that's switched for me. Did you get that? Like one day you're working for somebody, now you're working for yourself, and now everything's an opportunity. Everything is a different direction.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. Because even with the project with the backpacks that we worked on together was something that I didn't necessarily study or plan on doing, but then when I was doing it, it was so enjoyable. The precision, the exactness, it was so different from anything that I had done because I don't keep stock of anything. It's all made by hand per order. It's all custom. So it was unusual having 45 count of something and then making those. But what was there an actual question you said?
No, so basically like how you've changed mentally. So where you're working for Target, you're working for somebody else, and that's the business they're giving you. Now you've got to get the business.
Yeah.
How do you view, business development and growth? How has that changed in you to say, okay, here's my long-term vision. Now it's not, I'm getting up at 8 o'clock and going to work. Now I got to figure this out for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And what is the next step? What is the 5-year, 10-year, 20, 50-year plan?
Which that actually is a bigger question that I've been working on as it has grown to where now I can't just make everything happen myself. So it's a lot of thinking about, hey, what would it look like to bring on investors? What would it look like to hire new people? So I'm actually actively looking for seamstresses and pattern makers that I could employ to either come work for me with me in my studio, or if they had a space at home. But those are the bigger questions that I'm looking for now, because I'm at the point where I've reached like my max capacity of production. Like I can't make more than like 7 dresses in a month. I just can't. But if I want to, I have to hire help. So I'm definitely in the middle of that process. I was looking at different kinds of like mass production for mass is very relative, right? Like, do you mean 50 units or like 2,000? I really mean like the 50 to several hundred, because I've been looking at maybe inputting some of my designs on a larger scale in boutiques and retail stores in the area. So that's definitely a question that's on hand, looking towards expanding.
Got it. What are some of the mistakes that you've made?
Be more specific. Can you be more specific?
It's so one of my mistakes, I tell this one all the time, is your bookkeeper, your CPA should not be your bookkeeper. And I completely misunderstood the marketing world, that you go out to marketing, and I can't tell you how many times I redid my website. In there. So, I mean, those are the business decisions of, okay, what's the back office, the back end of how do I run this? How do I keep it going? And those are the things that I find most interesting. And what I'm trying to help people with is, my lawn guy just went and decided to quit his job and start his lawn company full time. And I'm leaving out to come to work. And he's like, he's talking to me about it. I'm like, I just asked him a couple of questions. He's like, well, our accountant's going to help us with our taxes. And I was like, whoop, mistake, big mistake. He's like, really? I said, accountants are not tax people. CPAs are tax people. He's like, oh, really? Yeah. So those are the things that I want to guide and share mine. I don't want anybody to traverse that minefield that I had to go through, because it's painful when you step on one. Trust me.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, those are I guess the ups and downs. And you didn't realize that a business entailed all of these different aspects. I guess that's kind of the question.
Yeah. Okay. So then I guess I would say like mistake areas, since I am like quite a bit of a very small business. And when people ask like, how small do you mean? I mean, like, I am the owner and I am employed by me.
Yeah.
That's what we are. We're in-house production. So I would say I am just now getting to the point to where all the tax questions come into play. And I had always just had W-2, so it was easy to do my own taxes. And now it is not.
No.
Being a small business owner, it's like an enormous nightmare of taxes. Like, did I save my receipts? Where should I put which one matters? How do I catalog everything? So I would say, like, it's not exactly a mistake thus far. It's really like the learning process of, and I appreciate your advice too, because it actually directly relates to this. I have now looked to actual tax people to do my taxes, because I was going to do it myself, but I would rather, again, be the designer and the business owner versus handling all the back end finances. It's not what I studied. It's not my gift. So trying to catalog and make sure everything is, all the ducks are in a row, is definitely something that I could be like, I'm like tiptoeing and trying not to step on that landmine.
Yeah, you have to. You got to build your team. That's why I always tell us there's some things you don't skimp in your business, and your attorney, your
Yeah.
doctors,
Okay.
and your tax people, your accountants, is you find the best and you build your team. And you have to understand in the finance world that bookkeepers, accountants, controllers, CPAs, and CFOs are all different disciplines in the finance world.
Right.
And they very rarely can transition one to the other. They have specific lanes. And when your CPA says, yeah, I can do your bookkeeping, no, you can't.
They can't.
No, you can't.
I'll find someone else, but thanks.
Yeah, well, I didn't know that. It just sounded reasonable that a
Sounds good.
CPA should bookkeep. You should know. $10,000 later, yeah, I learned that mistake. So anyways, those are the things that, like I said, I'm always interested in hearing, helping people out there, because
Yes.
like real estate, eventually one day you're going to get to the point where I need an office. I need a building.
Mm-hmm.
Beware, buyer beware on that one. That is another industry that you need to find the experts that can help you. And people don't realize that real estate agents and property managers, there's an inherent conflict of interest that is built in that we are all unaware of.
Yeah.
That they are truly, that your real estate agent essentially is working for the property manager, because that's who's going to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to satisfy them. They're coercing you to take what they want, because if they don't get paid.
Yes. So it's like,
those,
is it best for you?
yeah. So there are people out there that will help you, that kind of remove that conflict in there, what I found. So those are the things that, trust me, I made a mistake. Building them in now, we love it. It's great. I could have done so much better.
Yeah, I would say I've definitely been very lucky to have not stepped in any huge puddles. Mine are always, much smaller scale because of the size of my business and the work that I do. I will say that one thing that I did step in was whenever my work started getting to the point where people wanted to rent it, or people wanted to use it for collaborative, like photo shoots, which, in game helps with marketing and word of mouth, blah, 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 all the things for, the fashion industry. I would say for anyone else renting their products, their gowns, whether you're like a designer, or, I mean, this would happen too if you had a different product to offer, but if you're renting it for a collaboration or a project, it's really important to have all the documentation of who's liable and who has responsibility of what, because I had one time and I lucked out because it wasn't that expensive or that intense of a gown. I had a model steal my dress. She just took it. She just took it home after the photo shoot and did never give it back. So from now on, I have the contracts and the forms. I know. Honestly, and it could have been worse, right? But now I have nice rental forms, and it's great, and it's all very professional and written down.
It has saying when I was in the Army is like, in God we trust, everybody else must sign.
Yes.
So that's perfect. That's a perfect example of, you make those. And I made a decision one time. A big client came on and they were like, well, we're not going to pay you until you can prove what you can do. And I was in the position of, they were big, starting out, and I rolled the dice. And I didn't make a dime off them. They had nothing in there. So and what I learned is if they don't have any skin in the game, if they haven't invested anything in it, they can walk away at any time. They don't care. If they don't like it in the least bit, they'll walk away. And yeah, I mean, I had travel expense, I had labor, I had all this stuff, and they walked away and nothing. From that point on, I learned, just like you with the rental contract,
I was gonna say we have a 50% deposit
yeah.
up front.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got to, but you learn those things over time is that. And the other thing I always tell people is when you're starting a business out, you do what you can to get the business. Yes. You will underprice yourself and devalue yourself so much just to get the business.
Get the business, yeah.
And that's fine. That's fine. But there's going to come a point, and I tell everybody this, if you're good at it, you don't do it for free.
Don't do it for free. Don't let your friends who are good at it do it for free. You know, if they want it, they'll save up and come back.
Yeah, you don't want to gouge anybody. You want a fair price and you want fair value on what you give. But at the end of the day, is you got to grow your business.
Got to pay yourself. Got to grow the business and have fun doing it. And it can be really tough to have fun doing it if you're doing it for free. Basically, a lot of work, a lot of effort for free. I've definitely bit the bullet on doing that a couple times, like not undervaluing, but I guess that does correlate with how you price things, which it's so hard in the custom market, depending on how much of a name you have. You want to make it cheap enough so that they'll do it, but also materials and labor. Like if you come out with nothing, what's the point?
What's the point? Yep. Somebody got a nice dress and you might get something out of it, but it defeats the purpose of why you're doing it, at the end of the day. So I got one last question for you. At the end of the day, when somebody hears your name and your company name, what do you want them to say? What do you want them to feel about who you are and what you do?
Well, it's always my goal as a business owner, but also as a designer in general. For any of the products that I produce, I want the client to feel like they got everything they'd ever expected or ever dreamed that a custom made experience could be. I want them to not have just the product that they purchase, but I want them to have loved the experience, because it's not just going to a retail store and buying something, right? I want them to feel as special as they are. And when they put on whatever that I've been able to make for them, they go, oh, this is everything that I wanted, and be able to express it generally to other people in that way, that whatever we had dreamed up together, that now it's a reality and it's theirs and it's so special and it's unique to them, because everyone is unique in their own individuality. And it's part of my job to bring that individuality, that uniqueness of each person, bring it to life in a wearable art that they can show off and be everything that they've wanted to be in a piece of clothing. That's my goal.
Wow, I want you to make something for me, but I don't know if I'd look good in a gown.
I can make coats and jackets, but it's gotta be fancy. We'll make you a fancy jacket.
A fancy one? Okay. All right. I can do that. My girls might take it, but that's okay. Ooh. That's all right. All right. Thank you. So one last question. If somebody needed to get in contact with you, how would they do it? What's the best way to get in contact with Cassidy?
I mean, communication wise, I always answer my phone and I answer my emails. I'm that crazy person that answers all the phone calls that I don't have caller ID for, just in case it's someone who got my number and needs something from me. Or you can always just look me up. If you Google Cassidy by Design, my website pops up, all my social media pops up, and you are welcome to message me through any of those streams. Because
what's your email address? I don't ever tell people to give their phone number out.
No, that's fine. Yeah. My email is my first and last name. It's just cassidy.burel@gmail.com. And that's probably one of the best ways to get all the information that you want communicated to me, so we have it and we can review it. So yeah, cassidy.burel@gmail.com.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Cassidy. It's been great working with you. And I know we got a lot more work to do. Exciting. Yeah, we do. And excited about the partnership and glad that you met you and glad you didn't say no
Yes,
You
say
went forward,
yes.
stepped outside your comfort zone. That's always the greatest thing in there. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. And
Thank you.
looking for great things to come.